Hey everybody, Scary Spikes here, welcoming you to coverage of Star Citizen. That's right, bet you didn't know I played this game. I've been a backer since 2014, and today I want to take some time and teach you how to trade like a pro so you can make a shitload of space bucks. Now, right now we're on the way to tease a spaceport in Lorville, although many of these different strategies that you'll see in this video will work in Lorville as well as Area 18 and any other place that you might want to go to trade. Although there are a few specific ones to Area 18 and Lorville, as we're currently in Star Citizen Alpha 3.11.1, meaning that the landing splines are still there and still a pain in the ass, and there's a bunch of bugs that we're going to try to work around to make this a very easy, efficient, and safe trading route for you. So whether you choose to go from Area 18 or Lorville, just watch throughout the entire video. You'll see a bunch of different tips and tricks that you'll be able to use to make your trading a little bit more efficient and effective and a whole lot safer, as we're going to be getting around some of the major bugs that are in those areas. So at the moment, as you can see, I'm doing this with an Anvil Aerospace Carrack, but you can do it from with any ship from the Cutlass Black all the way up to the Caterpillar, although to be honest, with the new Atmo changes recently in the last few patches, I really wouldn't recommend the Caterpillar because it's way too slow and it handles like a demented whale, especially in atmosphere. It's just, it doesn't handle very well, and to be quite honest, the extra 100 and a bit, 120, 130 cargo that you get over the Carrack is really just not worth it because of how much time you waste. So we're going to get into our Carrack here, and I am going to give you some specific Carrack instructions as well, some specific Carrack tips and tricks that you can use in your Carrack to minimize the amount of time that you spend on the ground, and also to be a whole lot safer, especially with other players around. So definitely make sure to watch through the entire video so that you get the most out of it. Now, as you can see, this is my Carrack Expedition, and the little golden trim up there, that's the IAE 2050, I believe it is. 2020, but 2050 in the game, or 2150 I think it was. It's a special best in show skin that any Carrack owner would have received if they owned a Carrack throughout the end of the show. So as you saw there, the very first trick there with the Carrack, you can probably do this with other ships as well, but with the Carrack it's really cool. I pressed the button twice. There's a reason for that. So instead of turning around here and stopping and pressing that button to close the door, I've actually closed the door already from the outside, and I'm just waiting for my elevator here and looking through the glass of the first door to make sure that that ramp is coming up, which it is. And in that same time, I'm waiting for the elevator. So already we've shaved a few seconds off, and I know it doesn't seem like much, but a few seconds here and a few seconds there will really make a huge difference, and it's going to allow you to be a lot more efficient. And if you've seen any of my previous videos in the past, you know that I like to try to squeeze out as much out of as little time as possible. So the first thing you want to do, and this applies to you if you have a Carrack or a Cutlass Red, is to go into the ICU and to set it as your preferred ICU, and we'll talk about that later in the video, but that's really important for you to do. It really makes the whole run quite a bit safer, and then we'll get into our pilot seat here and start to take off. The second tip that I have here, and this may apply in Area 18, but especially with Lorville, you want to get your ship set up, you want to contact ATC as soon as possible, and then you want to switch your look to free look, and then use the external camera and have it pointing outside to look at the ship from outside the hangar to the inside. This does a few things. In my experience, it's actually forced the hangars to stay open for the most part. For some strange reason, I'm not sure why, but if you know in 3.11.1 there is an issue with the hangar doors closing prematurely, and I've actually had that tip my Carrack upside down, and it was basically inoperable after that. So one of the reasons why I do this is to make sure that the door is open, but the other is that it seems to be a lot safer doing it this way as well. In that it helps to prevent the doors from closing because maybe there's, I don't know, something causing it to do that. In any case, when you're getting out of the hangar, you can raise your gear, and here I like to engage autopilot right away and increase my speed limiter all the way to the top. Leaving the splines is not as big of a deal as going into them. When you're going into them to land, you do want to be quite a bit slower than this, but leaving is not a big deal because you're pretty much just going straight. And then immediately as soon as I leave the splines, I like to go pretty much as vertical as I can get, and basically just use that time to plan my route. So again, we're doing things while other things are happening, and if we continue on that trend, then we'll be using our time really efficiently, and we'll be able to get things done a lot quicker. So here I'm going to press F2, double right click to get out, and I like to look at the map from the top down. As you see there, it makes things quite a bit easier to see, and click on, and we're going to go to aerial, and then we're going to click on Bezdek, and as you see here, I'm trying to get it to basically lock my destination in, but it's not doing it for some strange reason. And so this is, I hate to say it's perfectly normal, but it is perfectly normal for that to happen. So what you need to do at this point is, if you were able to set your destination when you clicked on Bezdek and then clicked on set destination, then you're okay. But if that didn't happen, then you have to do one extra step, and that's you have to find sort of a random place to jump to using your quantum drive. So what you do is you press the B button, you line yourself up as I just did there, and when everything is ready and good to go, you hold B, and then literally a second after you start quantum jumping, you want to hold B again to disengage your quantum drive. What that's going to do is kind of reset the whole map, and then at that point you want to go back into the map, and you don't have to click anything else once you've clicked on Bezdek and set destination once. Even if it didn't work, it's still technically registered. All you have to do is just click set destination once, and then you can continue on your routes. Now, there's another time-saving thing that I do up here is like when I get to the planet and I start looking at where the outpost is, so it's up here on our left. As soon as I lock onto this in Quantum Drive, I immediately go back into the map using F2. And you'll see why that is in just a moment. But again, it's a time-saving measure to try to make things a little easier for myself. So one thing you'll notice is up on the top left-hand corner, and I'm sorry that this screen's a little cut off. I actually record in 3440 by 1440 resolution, but I scale it down to 1080p. So this is why it's a little cut off. But in any case, you'll see there's a progress right there. So as we near the planet, as we're getting closer to the outpost, the progress will continue to build, and then once it's done, it'll get rid of itself. When it does that, just press set destination again, and what that will do, as you can see there, is it'll create a little blip on the destination of your outpost. So it'll give you a general idea of where to go. This is especially helpful on planets like this, where it's kind of hard to tell whether you're, going in the right direction. And in my case, also hard to tell which way is the ground and which way is the sky. I kind of messed that up here. Another tip for you here is, as you saw, I have this red outline that tells me how close I am to the outpost. So the way to get that is you press B, again, for Bravo, as if you were going to do a quantum jump, but you basically just press B again to disengage. What that'll do is it'll trigger the distance marker, and it'll stay there after you've turned off the quantum drive, and that will give you an indication of how close you are. Usually, when I don't mess up colossally like I just did now, it usually helps me to get an idea of when I need to turn my cruise control off when I'm going full speed, so that I end up roughly over the outpost when I'm pretty much out of juice when my ship starts to slow down. So I'm slowly starting to figure out here that I'm actually upside down, and I don't know. For me, these kinds of things are really helpful. They might not be as helpful for you, but then again, I have a visual impairment, so for me, it's really nice to have these blips, especially when they're contrasting like this. Something darker over something lighter really makes it a lot easier for me, at least, to see where I'm going, and that I can get to where I'm going a little bit quicker. So here we are at Bezdek. We're going to take our time and land properly. It's really important that you get yourself on the pad, and if you're in a Carrack or one of the larger ships, do try to take one of the larger pads. If you're in a smaller ship, don't be a douche, take a smaller pad, because one of the larger ships, like the Carrack, for example, really has a hard time landing on the smaller of the two pads, and it's just a nice courtesy for your fellow pilots, your fellow traders to do that. So what I like to do is, once I line myself up with the pad, I just start decreasing my speed limiter, and then I just basically get myself lined up to where the ramp of the pad is in between my two little computers there, and I'm sure you can find different visual references for different ships that you might be flying, but this is what works for me. And then as soon as I've got it sort of like right in the middle, I pull my nose up just a little bit, and then I just bring the whole thing down. It's generally pretty good, usually lands pretty well most of the time. Sometimes I do have to adjust, but in this case, it turns out like we did a pretty good job. So the next thing that I can suggest to you is when you get out of your ship, do not turn off the power. So as soon as you land, press I to turn off your engines, but do not press U to turn off the power. There's a really good reason for that. It's because your shields are still powered up when you have power on. When you turn them off and back on, they have to reset and regenerate from 0 up to 100 again. So by leaving the power on, you're actually leaving the ship shields active, and they're 100% when you take off. Now, if you're in a Carrack, this is the best way to exit a Carrack. If you don't have a med pen on you, I would suggest taking the elevator down to the subdeck before doing that. But you can basically walk right through the wall there. It's a vulnerability that's been in the Carrack for quite a while, and I use it to my advantage to get out of the ship. The really cool thing about that is you don't need to open the door. So if there's a lot of other people around and some people are griefing and stuff, you know, these steps will help to mitigate that grief and help you to basically get out of your Carrack without even having to open the door. So here we are. There's no Layer Night available because I've already basically bought out 1.1 or something million credits on my last run, which unfortunately I didn't film. But we're just going to grab some titanium. It's not a big deal. We'll make about 82k on the trip and getting a full hold of that. And then as soon as we're done, we're going to kill ourselves. Now, don't do this. Don't do this if you don't have a Carrack or a Cutlass Red. Remember how when we were boarding the ship and we went into the med bay? Well, this is the reason why. Because now we don't even have to open the ship to get back into it. Again, it's a much safer way to go about it, and it'll really help to speed up your runs and make things a little bit faster for you. It's also quite a bit safer. Again, if there's people outside, they're hanging around the front door, you're kind of like a little paranoid about that. This is a great way because you go in and you never come out and they have no idea what happened. So Carrack pilots, that's for you. I hope you enjoy it. I don't know if they're ever going to fix that, at least on the way out. On the way in, I mean, it's working as intended. If you die, you should spawn at your ICU. But in any case, there was another trick where once you landed, for example, in Lorville, and you took the train to the Central Business District, you were actually able to kill yourself after selling, and that would put you back into your ship, but that's now been fixed. So unfortunately, you do still have to take a train ride there and a train ride back if you're going to Lorville. And anyway, we're going to be setting up our destination to go back to Lorville, so just going to do that quickly. I think I'm going to try to perhaps decrease the size of the screen so you guys can see everything because it's a little cropped at the moment, but I'll see if I can do that in post. And in any case, we're going to, as we're gaining altitude, as you saw there, I was tinkering around with the map, which is what you should be doing as well. As you're gaining altitude, you want to set your destination, and then by the time you're out of the map, you're pretty much at just about the right altitude to be able to leave that planet and move on with your travel plans. Alright, so last step here, we're just going to target Lorville. Another cool thing that you can do here is even if your quantum drive is on cooldown, or even if you're not 100% lined up with your target, you can still press B and the drive will start spooling up. And so there's two things that you need to do with your drive in order to be able to move. You need to spool it and you need to calibrate it. The spooling can happen regardless of whether you're actually looking at your target, so it's always a good idea to spool your drive as soon as you're able to, and then the only thing that you need to do is once you're looking at your target, it'll calibrate the drive, and then you're just good to go. That's really important if you have a lower quality quantum drive, because those usually take quite a long time to spool up, and their cooldown is also quite long. So that will also save you a little bit of time if you don't have a top-end like military A-grade drive like I have in this Carrack. Alright, so this is literally the worst thing that can happen to you in Lorville, pretty much. If it spits you out right in front of this building, Tisa Spaceport is right behind it. And so what I like to do is if I'm kind of more on the right side like I am here, I stick to the right. If I'm on the left, I stick to the left. You don't ever want to fly over the building. I've had really massive issues with that. So we'll go to the external camera here. I can show you quickly that we're going to be flying sort of towards the right. And if I'm sort of like behind this building, if the building is between me and the spaceport, I try not to have my angle of attack too low either, because I don't want to just get like way too close to the building. I've had issues where like my ship has just inadvertently crashed into the building without me even pointing at it remotely. So just to be safe rather than sorry, just make sure to go around the building. And that's also helpful because once you get to one of the two sides of Tisa Spaceport there, if you're at the right elevation, you'll be able to call ATC, and the landing splines should start right at about where you are. So usually I like to stop when I'm around 4,500 meters, and that's when I call ATC, and landing splines are usually pretty close by. So just going to boost a little bit here to get a little bit closer. I wanted to do this without making any cuts, really, just so you guys can see roughly how long it takes. You can also compare this to your own runs and what you've been doing yourself, and to see if it's faster or better for you. I hope that it is, but again, you know, the same strategy might not work for everybody or every ship, so that's something to keep in mind. Also, another thing to keep in mind is that in 3.12, which is, this is being filmed, I would say in the second week, sort of for the beginning of the second weekend of the first week of December. So right now we know that 3.12 has been released to Evocati members, not yet on PTU as far as I know for the rest of us. But they will be getting rid of the splines, and they'll be making some adjustments to the restricted areas around Area 18 specifically, and Lorville. And so, you know, this might not necessarily be applicable when you watch the video. If it's not, I'll try to make a follow-up video, or maybe at least put something in the description just to update everything. But here it's really, really important that you slow down. I know it seems kind of silly, but the thing is, you have to understand that, especially with larger ships, when you make a turn, you're not actually turning on a dime. You're taking quite a bit of distance to actually turn your ship and change the angle of your velocity to make you go in a different direction. And so because of that, if you're going too fast and you do a sharp turn into these, you'll end up actually surfing towards the outside of the turn. And if you do that, you might actually have what happened to me happen to you, which is the autopilot will take over your ship, and it will slowly but very literally just lower you down to the point where you hit the ground, and then subsequently explode. And I've actually lost about 323,000 running titanium doing this the other day, and now I'm just extremely careful to be very slow and methodical getting into these splines, because I hate that, and I'm sure you do too. I think it's a frustration that's shared among a lot of people that end up doing business in Lorville, and that's, you know, it's like you really have to thread the needle, because it's almost impossible to do it quickly. You can either do it quickly or you can do it well, and you know, I would prefer to do it well, because I'm a trader. I don't want to lose my load, and I don't want to lose my money as a result. So take it nice and easy through here. Take your time. You know, it's really not worth losing your load over, especially with the autopilot. It's really, really buggy even still, and it will make you watch as it destroys your ship, and it's really painful when you see that. So the next really cool tip that I have for you guys here is to get yourself impounded on purpose, and there's a huge slew of benefits for this that I recently figured out. I thought it was kind of a joke at first, but this is actually totally safe to do. It's totally safe for your cargo, it's safe for your ship, and it's actually even safe in terms of a 30k. So if you get yourself impounded and then a 30k happens, your cargo and your ship is actually safe. And in those, let's say, in the time that it would take you, which is usually at least a minute to 2 minutes for me to actually land a ship like this, especially when the doors at Lorville are so buggy, you know, it takes me like at least a good couple of minutes to get the ship into the hangar. And then, of course, you have to leave the ship, you have to take the elevator. So you consider that might take you about 3 or 4 minutes. If you're me, maybe you do it a bit faster. But this here, all you do is you request landing permission, basically. They'll give you a hangar. Once you're through the splines, though, you want to hover over any closed hangar. Like if it's open, obviously don't hover over it, because somebody might be coming or going. But if it's closed, go ahead and hang over a hangar that doesn't belong to you, that wasn't assigned to you. And you'll get this warning at the top of your screen telling you that you're about to get impounded. That's completely okay. You will not get a crime stat for doing this. And as soon as it happens, not only will you be kicked out into the spaceport without even having to take the elevator out of the hangar like you see here, but your ship will also be completely saved. Your cargo will be completely saved and safe. And at this point, if, you know, I would have still been landing my ship at this point. If there's a 30k that happens now, then there's a chance that you may have just saved, you know, hundreds of thousands worth of credits. And as you can see here, it is impounded, and we can pay a fine, but we're actually not going to pay the fine either. So just follow me, do what I do, and you'll see that you can actually completely avoid the 500 credit fine, even though honestly it's a small price to pay to have the game land and protect your ship for you, which is still fine. But so I'm not sure at this point if it's a time limit of around 5 minutes, or if it's any kind of transactions of buying or selling and moving cargo on or off your ship. But one of those two things, or both of them, tend to remove the fine from having to be paid. So you'll notice when we go over to sell our goods, when we come back, you'll notice that we don't have to pay that fine anymore. And you can just take your ship and get going. And so the other benefit of doing this, aside from saving a bunch of time and potentially saving your load from a 30k, is also to reset the despawn timer on your ship. If you don't know, when you take your ship out for the first time, as soon as you click on the retrieve button, there's a timer that's started on your ship. If at the point of 1 hour you are not on your ship and there's no other person on your ship will automatically despawn no matter what, no matter where it is. It could be landing, it could be refueling, it could be in the middle of space, it could be sitting on a space station, it doesn't matter. It will despawn after 1 hour. There is nothing else at the moment in the game that will reset that timer except for impounding your ship. So if you need to spend a little bit more time, especially waiting for server ticks to get Laranite, or maybe you want to get some vehicles and load them up into your ship at Bezdek or one of the other outposts, you can be 100% sure that even if you're not flying with a friend or doing all the other things that you thought reset the timer for despawning your ship, you can be totally sure that as long as you keep a timer from the moment that your ship was impounded, from that point in time, as long as you're within 1 hour, 60 minutes worth of time, your ship will never despawn. So you can sit there at an outpost comfortably, knowing that you will not lose your ship where you're waiting maybe 10-15 minutes for 2 to 3 server ticks to get a full load of Laranite. Halfway through, your ship despawns, and guess what? Now you have to go back, you have to claim your ship, and when you claim your ship, you lose your cargo. That sucks. So that will also help you to retain a lot of your money, and also to basically prevent your ship from despawning. And you can do this not just with trading, but with anything else. Whether you want to, do a bunch of staging with a fleet that you're running mining ops with, or if you want to go do some PvP and you're just waiting for your friends to arrive, it's a great way to make sure that your ship doesn't despawn. If you have to maybe, let's say, jump off your ship or go refuel, go pick up some goods, whatever, what have you. So I don't know whether this is something that's going to be fixed in the future, but at least for now, it's a tactic that I've been using, because the game can be really cruel. Like, let's be honest, the game can be extremely frustrating sometimes, and in some cases, Windows doesn't even see this as a game, which is kind of interesting. And so we understand, as people who play Star Citizen, that it's an alpha, and there's a lot of things that can go wrong. So given that circumstance, we need to do everything that we can in our power, that's legal, to prevent bad things from happening, or at least to mitigate the bad things that happen to us, or the effects that those bad things have. So as you saw there, we were able to sell everything just fine. I'm just going to head back to the spaceport there just to show you and prove to you that once you've sold your goods, you don't have to pay that fine, which is great. You can pick up your ship and you can just continue to go and do whatever you're doing, trading, mining, whatever. So we're just going to take the train back very quickly. And as I said before, I think in a previous patch, I did play pretty religiously back in 3.9, I think it was, or 3.9.1. And at that point, you were actually able to backspace here as a Carrack pilot. And that's, of course, without doing the impound trick, because if you did that, then your ship would be impounded. It would not be available. But if you had landed your ship normally, you were actually able to backspace, like right here, as soon as you sold your stuff. And it would put you into the med bay of your ship, and you were able to take off right away. And that was crazy. I made so much money. It was just insane. So if you guys have any of your own tips or tricks for trading or anything else, make sure to leave those in the comment section so we can help out the rest of the community. Obviously, this is something that we need to do to help each other out, because at this point, the game is still so unstable that it's really difficult to deal with, and especially when the circumstances are quite bad, and we get frustrated when we lose an entire load, like I did the other day. So thankfully today was a good day. I made some of my money back. Actually, I think I made all of my money back and then some, which is great, because I got lucky with a Laranite, a full load of Laranite, which I was really surprised I was able to do. But in any case, that's it. That's just a fact of life. Until iCache and what was the other thing? iCache and, well, I guess a result of iCache being implemented, which I guess would be server meshing. Until that comes in and we actually have a persistent universe, this kind of stuff is, you know, likely to happen. So I'm sure that as time goes on, as the new patches come out and as they try to fix things, we're also going to be finding different ways to help mitigate losses and mitigate the negative effects of all the things that the game throws at us. So it shouldn't be too long here. Again, I didn't want to speed anything up because I just wanted to show you everything in real time, and that way you can gauge for yourself, you know, roughly how long this takes and get an idea of how that compares to your own strategy. So we'll just be arriving at Tisa Spaceport here shortly. I know a lot of you will probably also say, as I've heard a lot of people say in the game, you know, why even bother with Lorville? Like, just go run stuff somewhere else, man. Go run like medical supplies at New Babbage, or or like go run alcohol to Port Olisar or something. And it's just not the same, you know. Like, I know I'm taking a huge risk here, and a lot of traders are, even if they're not coming to Lorville, but you know, I mean, it's honestly still one of the best trading routes in the game at the moment. And I really do wish that they had fixed, that they revert the changes they made with Laranite, because it's not enough supply. And in any case, that's a topic for another video. So as you can see here, the ship is stored, everything looks good, and we can just go ahead and retrieve the ship as normal. And it should, with any luck, come into a hangar, and we should be able to take it out again. There we go, hangar 5, perfect. Okay, so we'll leave it there. Hopefully those tips and tricks were helpful to you guys. Again, if you have any of your own, make sure to leave those down below. If this video helped you, stick around, subscribe, it's totally free. Click the bell icon to be notified of future videos. And with that, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. And I do plan on making a video in the future, sort of like a comprehensive new player video. So if you're new to Star Citizen, there is a code in the description that you can use to get yourself some free money. And I'll let you know in the new newbie video that I'll make in the future how you can best utilize that money to end up making a few million or more. All right, thanks again for watching, guys. Catch you in the next one. Take care.